said I wanted to talk to campaigners at Sex Matters, and I'm joined now by Fiona McAnena, Director of Campaigns at that group. Good morning to you, Fiona.
Good morning, Matthew.
If I could start, first of all, I mean, I don't know whether you saw either of the bouts that have involved Khalif, how you responded to them sort of viscerally.
I think it's pretty disturbing to see a woman being punched by someone who is allegedly male. And I think that if people wanted to see that, they wouldn't be tuning into the
allegedly
Olympics.
Male. I mean, as far as I know, no one is actually aware of what her genetic makeup is. Well, that's not in the public arena. So that's quite an assumption to make.
Here's the thing. I think we should first talk about why a category of female sport exists. The reason the female category exists is because male advantage is so enormous. It's so huge. And the conversation you just had before about genetic variation is about, you were talking about individual variation, you know, someone's a little bit taller, a little bit better, and so on. Even in his prime, Michael Phelps, with his enormous feet, was winning races by fractions of seconds. And if you, for comparison, look at the fastest women when he was winning, they would never have been in the Olympics at all, never mind in the Olympic final in those events. Similarly, in athletics, every women's world record in athletics has been beaten by teenage boys and is beaten by hundreds, sometimes thousands of men a year. So the point about, well, how do we grapple with individual variation and genetic advantage? We don't need to. We do need to separate male and female because the performance difference is so
but then that brings me back to your original assertion that you have claimed that Khalif is male, and as far as I know, nobody knows. Nobody in the public arena does.
Yes, and we'll talk about Khalif, but just before we go about to the specifics of the individual, I think it's important to settle.
So, with respect, you went to the specifics of the individual. I didn't.
So you asked me,
you made the assertion.
How I felt watching Khalif.
Yeah, and I'm just asking where you get the idea that she's male from, because I don't see that in the public arena.
That idea has come from the IBA saying that they did lab tests, genetic tests, and that sounds like a sex screen. Now, a sex screen, I want to nail one other myth. There is nothing intrusive about a cheek swab once in your career. If you are a professional or an elite athlete, you have to prove lots of things about yourself. You have to do anti-doping. That is frequent through your career, and it's much more intrusive. You know, you have to basically provide a urine sample in front of someone else, a stranger, watching that sample appear from you so they know there's no cheating.
I think questioning someone over doping is very different from questioning someone's sort of sexual identity. I mean, it's just a personal, because it's deeply personal.
We can all see. But we can all see who's male and female. There's nothing personal.
Really? I think that's the whole point, Fiona, is according to science, you can't.
Well, there are two things. In the world generally, how would we procreate if we couldn't tell who was male and female? It's really never been a problem. And secondly... Not
everybody procreates. I mean, that's one thing to bear in mind.
And secondly, there is no right for someone who wants to qualify and be eligible for competition to keep their eligibility secret. If you enter a competition, the onus is on you to prove you're eligible.
The IOC is happy, though, and they've called into question the IBA, which you're citing in support.
So the interesting thing is the IOC keeps saying that they can't tell. It's all very complicated. I really wish they would ask Seb Coe, who's running World Athletics, or the people running World Swimming, or the UCI, the cycling, or World Rugby, or netball, or any of the other federations who have decided that they absolutely can run
as I've already said, in powerlifting in America, there's a third division. Do you recognise that there are 0.04% of the world's population that do have DSD? Do you recognise that?
There are people with DSDs.
Okay, so Fiona, just help me out here, because I'm just trying to work out that if someone with DSD is allowed to compete in sport, because...
Yes, of course they should be allowed.
How do they compete?
I'll tell you how. It's not that complicated. So females with a DSD should be allowed to compete against other females, and males with a DSD should be allowed to compete against other males, because for the reality is that you can tell what sex everyone is. A scientist can do it with a cheek swab. They can also tell the fundamental question here, which is, Does that person benefit from testosterone? Can their body produce and process testosterone, which is what generates male advantage through puberty? Removing it later doesn't undo that. The powerlifting issue is not about DSD, it's actually about
you say you're happy for DSD female to fight female, and
yes.
as far as I know, that is exactly the situation in Olympic boxing, according to the IOC.
Yeah, but that's not as far as we know. The IOC could end this by simply having sex tests, and they refuse to, because the IOC has made a choice and made a statement in 2021, their framework document, in which they said that there should be no presumed advantage on the basis of transgender identity or variations in sex development, DSDs. So they have a policy that says, we're not interested in anybody's sex. We're only interested in how they identify. They've made that very clear.
But you said you would be happy for a female DSD to fight a female, and that is what is happening.
No, it's not. Let me just make one more point.
I just want you to be very careful, because Khalif, we are not aware of her chromosome makeup. We have been told. And yet you seem very certain that she's XY.
Let's talk about two separate things. When people say someone was born a woman and is female, as you said, I think we don't know that. What we do know is that this boxer was assigned female at birth. In other words, she was registered female, and that terminology, assigned female at birth, is what is used for people with differences of sex development. The rest of us are simply observed and recorded, and sometimes even before we're born.
I thought we all got assigned a sex at birth.
No, most of us were observed. It was not an assignation. It was known. Now, some of these people, as you explained in the introduction, if they have ambiguous genitals, then a choice will be made to register them, but that choice can be...
Just go back again. You said you would be happy for a DSD female to fight a female. Yes. I have spent 24 hours on this story looking at nothing but Khalif, and I can assure you that no one knows her genetic makeup, and yet you presume, you are presuming, with respect, Fiona, you are presuming she's XY, and that's quite a dangerous route to go down, isn't it? Because she could be XX, and therefore you don't have an objection.
No, let's finish the conversation. A female with a DSD does not have male advantage. The allegation here is that Khalif has male advantage, and therefore, if that's so, then like Caster Semenya, this will be a boxer who was registered female at birth because of the reasons we've explained and you've explained.
So just help me out again. Help me out again. So let's say you're female, a female genitals, XX chromosome, DSD, and you have one developed testy inside you.
Then you're not female, sorry.
Well, that's not how the rest of the world sees it in competitive sport. You are DSD if you're XX chromosome. You're female, rather, if you're XX chromosome.
There are many different types of DSD, you see.
Agreed.
It's not a single thing. It's not a single condition. Right. So everyone...
But you yourself said DSD female against female was acceptable. Correct. And you're at the same time, you're the only person that is claiming on this show that Khalif is XY. And I don't know that to be true.
This is... Right. Let's just step away from Khalif for a second.
Well, I can't really, because that's what we're talking about.
Sex screening is very simple.
Right.
Everyone there are a few, someone with chromosomal disorders like XXY, which is Klinefelter syndrome, your reporter mentioned, would not be in the Olympics, okay? These people are healthy individuals.
So would you therefore favour a third category?
No, all we need to do is keep people with male advantage out of the female category. And if someone is processing testosterone at male levels, because they have one of those rare DSDs, which is the same as Caster Semenya, XY5ARD.
So for you, it's just about testosterone, essentially.
It is about having the ability to produce and process testosterone and be going through male puberty and getting insurmountable advantage. And that's how we separate the categories.
Fiona, I've got to leave it there. I still have to reiterate, we have no idea whether she is XX or XY, and your assertion that she's XY, I'm quite uncomfortable with on a legal and libel basis. I just want to make that absolutely clear. No one knows. Well, outside of Khalif, presumably, and her family. It's a very complicated issue. I have to say, we're half an hour through it and I'm still none the wiser. Maybe you have the solution, a knockout answer to the problem of women's boxing. We'll hear it after the latest LBC News headlines.